You've probably heard people say it. There's Bitcoin, and then there's everything else. Well, today, we're going to really break down what that means and get into why Bitcoin is so often called the king of crypto.
So, let's just kick things off with one pretty powerful visual. Bitcoin, all on its own, makes up over half of the entire multi-trillion-dollar crypto market. To put that into perspective, that's more than 4 times bigger than the next largest crypto asset. It's a giant.
That kind of dominance is wild, right? And it really begs the question, what makes Bitcoin so different from the thousands of other digital assets out there? Why is it truly in a league of its own?
To really get the answer, we have to rewind the clock. We need to go back to the very beginning and understand the specific problem its anonymous creator, known only as Satoshi Nakamoto, was trying to fix.
You see, Bitcoin didn't just appear out of thin air. Its origin story is tied directly to the 2008 global financial crisis. I mean, this was a moment when trust in the entire traditional banking system was just gone. It had completely evaporated. And get this, Satoshi embedded a message into the very first block of the Bitcoin blockchain. And it wasn't some random bit of code. It was a newspaper headline from that day. This was a permanent digital timestamp. It was basically a mission statement, a clear signal about Bitcoin's purpose, to be a real alternative to a failing system.
So it was in response to that crisis that Satoshi came up with this really unique solution. It wasn't just one new idea, but a combination of 4 revolutionary innovations that had actually never been put together like this before.
These 4 elements, permissionless money, peer-to-peer value transfer, a fixed supply, and a totally fair and open system, they're the secret sauce. Together, they are what make Bitcoin so unique. So let's dive in and take a closer look at each one. First up, Satoshi created a kind of digital money that's completely secure, but, and this is the key, you don't need permission from any government or any bank to use it. For the very first time, you could have complete sovereign control over your own wealth.
Just think about the difference for a second. The Bitcoin network has no CEO, no head office, no single point you can attack. It's open to anyone, anywhere with an internet connection, unlike the banking system. And, critically, it gets rid of what's called counterparty risk. That's the risk that the bank or other person in a deal won't hold up their end. With Bitcoin, the code is the deal.
And all that decentralization, that's also where its security comes from. Bitcoin isn't protected by guards or bank vaults. It's secured by a massive global wall of computing power, literally the most powerful computer network in history. And that, by the way, is why it uses so much energy. That energy is the cost of building an impenetrable digital fortress for everyone's money. Okay, the second big innovation was direct digital value transfer. You know, before Bitcoin, if you wanted to send money to someone online, you always had to go through a middleman like a bank or a PayPal. Bitcoin changed that. It lets any 2 people anywhere on Earth send value directly to each other. It's often called the internet's missing value layer.
Third, and this one might just be the most revolutionary of them all, Satoshi created a type of money with a fixed, unchangeable supply. This makes it completely resistant to manipulation or the kind of inflation you get when governments just decide to print more money.
And the fourth innovation was creating a system that was completely fair and transparent from day one. It's run by open source code that anyone can check, not by some secretive board of directors. And crucially, there were no insiders who got a special deal at the start.
And this principle of fairness is a really big deal. Unlike almost every other crypto asset, there were no pre-mined coins handed out to the founders or early investors. Every single Bitcoin had to be earned, either by buying it on the market or by contributing computing power to secure the network. This is a huge reason why even the chair of the US SEC has said that Bitcoin is the only crypto he doesn't see as a security.
All right, let's double-click on that third innovation, the fixed supply, because this is really important. It's this specific quality that has earned Bitcoin the nickname digital gold.
So why should you care about a fixed supply? Well, it all comes down to one word: inflation. As the Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman famously said, in the long run, inflation is basically always about the money supply. When you create more money, each dollar or peso or yen is worth less.
And the contrast here is just stark. Government currencies can be printed with no limit. Gold's supply, it grows pretty slowly and predictably, around 1.5% a year. But Bitcoin's supply growth, it's even slower and more predictable, and it's programmed to decrease over time.
And this all leads us to one of the most important numbers in all of finance, 21 million. There can never, ever be more than 21 million Bitcoin. Period. This makes it the first form of money in human history with an absolutely finite supply.
So why does this matter? Well, for billions of people living in countries with runaway inflation, where their entire life savings can get wiped out, having access to a fixed supply asset right on their phone, it can be a financial life raft. It's a way to actually preserve the value of their hard work.
So what's the big takeaway here? How should we think about all this? The best way to look at Bitcoin is as a groundbreaking, ongoing experiment in a whole new kind of money.
And I know what you're thinking, but the price is so volatile. And yes, you're right, it is. But that volatility isn't coming from Bitcoin itself. One Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin. The volatility is us, it's humans, trying to figure out what this new thing is worth during its early adoption phase. And, fun fact, that adoption is actually happening faster than the internet's did in its early days.
When you really strip it all away, Bitcoin is trying to solve some very real, very old problems in our global financial system. The slow-motion theft of inflation, the risk baked into our banking system, the fact that billions are shut out of finance, and the need for a true payment system for the internet.
And that leaves us with the final big open question. Bitcoin is a remarkable invention, but its story is still being written. Will this experiment succeed and become a financial life raft for billions, or will it just stay a volatile niche asset for a few? The next decade is probably going to give us the answer. And that's The Explainer.